this video is going to be focused on what really happened. It's going to be very detailed. If you haven't seen the first video that I've done about apple cider vinegar, it's on my channel and it's called The True Story Behind Apple Cider Vinegar, and that discusses the story of Jessica Einscough, who is portrayed as Milla Blake in the Netflix series. So if you want to watch that one first, feel free to, or watch this video and then watch the other one. But yeah, this is the second part. This video is going to be quite long, so grab a snack or a drink, get cozy, and let's just dive right in. So, Belle Gibson was born in Tasmania, Australia on 8th October 1991. If I'm looking to the side, I'm looking at my script. Though she even lied consistently about the year she was born and her age, telling people that she was 3 years older than she really was. And her upbringing remains a mystery during various periods of her life. She never knew her father. Her mother divorced her father at some point. Her mom's name is Natalie Dahl Bello, and I believe she passed away in 2017. She had MS. They settled in Adelaide and remarried in 2012 after moving the family to the southeastern state of Australia for several years. Belle dropped out of high school at year 10. She was 16 years old, I believe, when she dropped out. However, she also claims to have been homeschooled. I read that she left her family home at Brisbane to live with a classmate and later lived with a family friend. I also read that she was apparently living with a co-worker after she left home who was much older than her. An ex-boyfriend of hers alleged that she couldn't go 5 minutes without making up a story, and a former classmate dubbed her a pathological liar. She really liked spending time online, and she really flexed her storytelling muscles. From 2005, she was already uploading posts to the internet forums stating that she had brain cancer. So the lying, if you don't know about this story, and I didn't do any preface, but we're gonna talk about a pathological liar. Belle has lied, I guess allegedly, from 2005. A couple of years later, after dropping out of school at 16, she moved across the country to Perth and took a job at a call center for a private health insurer. However, I also read that she was working as a trainee for a catering company in a town called Lytton, and she proceeded to post even more bogus health claims in skateboarding chat rooms. She was very interested and part of the skateboarding culture. She described being treated for cancer and undergoing major surgeries, said she had died several times on the operating table. She claimed she needed to get a heart valve replacement, but she couldn't afford it yet. After she relocated from Perth to Melbourne, she became pregnant. So she became pregnant in 2009. She moved in 2009, became pregnant in 2010 in Melbourne, and started living with her partner Nathan Corbett. So this was her partner at the time. Originally, she moved to Melbourne by herself, and Nathan worked and saved money and then joined her shortly thereafter. During pregnancy, early stages of pregnancy, when she was living by herself, she started to browse on different kind of forums. So from skateboarding, she separated with Nathan, she started a relationship in the same year with a man who was almost 20 years older than her, called Clive Rothwell. And if you watch the show, this is all portrayed in the show, but I am not sure on the exact facts on how they actually met. I haven't found anything relating to that. By 2012, they were together, and they did disclose that they suffered a miscarriage, which is also depicted in the series. She created her Instagram, as I said. Sorry that it's so in parts, but her handle was called healing_Belle. It's not there anymore. But she continued her claims to have brain cancer there as well, and started promoting nutrition and lifestyle interventions to treat her illness. She claimed to be curing herself of terminal brain cancer with alternative therapies like craniosacral therapy, oxygen therapy, colonics, Ayurvedic treatments, and of course organic foods and juices. Her bio read Belle Gibson, game changer with brain cancer and the food obsession. She took stylized pictures of food and drinks, and she had perfect hair, she wore oversized sunglasses, and she had tousled like blonde hair, very aesthetic, very curated feed. She always seemed to be glowing with health, despite posting regularly that she had cancer, that she was going through these periods of illness, and she said that it was irrefutably confirmed that she had these illnesses by an MRI scan a year earlier. In reality, Belle was referred for a neurological assessment in 2011 after reporting symptoms including eye pain, slurred speech, and vision impairment and memory loss, the results of which were perfectly normal. There was no mention of cancer whatsoever or any other neurological problems. So she did get one neurological assessment in 2011. From what we know, that was like an actual assessment, but that said everything was fine. Within a year of starting her account, she amassed 200,000 followers. In the show Apple Cider Vinegar, it says 2 million. That is not true. Her followers said she was inspirational, she was a warrior, that she was an angel. But Belle was selling what many people battling cancer wanted: hope. And she looked so good doing it. In August 2013, at the age of 21, Belle would be launching her app, The Whole Pantry, in the App Store. She partnered with Apple to have it on the release of the first ever Apple Watch, so it was a huge deal. She registered her business name and recruited a small team to develop her app called The Whole Pantry. She also registered the domain name for The Whole Life, so she was really thinking about expanding this business beyond her app. Her partner, husband, Clive Rothwell, registered these domain names. I believe his name was on them, on the business somewhere, and her corporate name was also named under these registrations. However, when controversies broke a couple years later, the registration name was amended. described as a one-stop shop for paleo, gluten-free, vegan recipes, plus healthy lifestyle guides. Despite being developed on a very tight budget, the design was apparently very attractive. It was very clean with a very slick user interface. So it was an overnight sensation and was downloaded 200,000 times within its first month, according to Wikipedia. And it was actually named and voted Apple's best food and drink app of 2013. I was 13 years old, so I cannot recall. And I did not have an iPhone, I had a flip phone. So I wouldn't be able to recall, but if any of you remember anything of this, do let me know in the comments, because that would be very fascinating to know. So basically this was the second best iPhone app in the world by the end of the year 2013. It was selected for one of the small number of apps that were going to be populated in Apple's new smartwatch. She leveraged her social media followers into an app, and then subsequently she managed to get a book deal. She told her followers in the meantime that she had been given 4 months to live, tops. And this was apparently due to a malignant tumor, before confounding medical expectations by rejecting conventional treatment in favor of focusing on nutrition and holistic therapies. She signed a book deal with Penguin, which she signed it with Lantern Books, which is an imprint of Penguin Books. And she got an advance of 132,000 Australian dollars, which is about 66,000 pounds. This was just 2 months after she launched her app. The book was published in October 2014, and it was also called The Whole Pantry. It prominently charted her career. I'm so sorry about that. It prominently featured her cancer journey in the introduction of the book. I think she mentions a couple of things that I'm going to tell you about in the preface of her book. So it opens by stating that she, had cancer. It sold 16,000 copies by the end of the year. So in just like 3 months, she sold 1,600 copies by the end of the year. Sorry, 16,000. She was simultaneously working with Apple to transition the app as a pre-installed default third-party app. With the Apple Watch's 2015 launch, and during her book launch in 2014, she said in her preface that she was stable for 2 years with no growth of the cancer. Her Miss Girl couldn't figure out her storyline, because 3 months before this, she was saying that her cancer has spread to her brain, blood, uterus, and spleen. She also attributed having her uterus cancer to getting a vaccine. And to media outlets, she was also saying that her cancer reached her kidneys and liver. So this cancer was everywhere. But there was no evidence that she had cancer, that she ever had cancer. In 2014, she also told a prospective business partner, several names that she went under because she claimed that her mother had changed her name 5 times when she was younger. Her corporate filings indicated that she was 3 years younger than she publicly claimed to be, as mentioned before. And allegedly in 2015, her app and book sales made an estimated 1 million Australian dollars. So, just taking a short pivot to this specific wrongdoing that she did, because it's just heinous. It's heinous that she was lying about having cancer the whole time, since 2005. But this is like on another level. When she was, I think, 23, Belle befriended a woman called Pen Schwartz on social media. So this was around 2013. And this is also depicted in apple cider vinegar. So Belle saw Penny's posts about her 7-year-old son, Joshua, who had a brain tumor, which was caused by a rare genetic disorder with a prognosis of 4 months to live. Belle never promised to raise money for Joshua's treatment, and in fact, the family said not only had they not received any donations from her, they didn't even know about the fundraiser. They did, however, know that Belle took a great interest in Joshua. They said she'd always ask heaps of questions about Joshy's cancer and treatments. Was it to give her more credibility? We can't help but think that she used us to get in the mind of Joshua. In her cookbook, Belle refers to this family as her great friends and called Joshua the second little man after my own heart, with whom she shares an unintimidated friendship with our brain bugs, while offering his mother a printed invitation to my love and support. Basically, she has prevented this little boy who had cancer and his family to learn allegedly more about his illness, and she posted him on social media and claimed to fundraise for him when she never did. Schwartz, the mom, said that before the articles appeared from the journalist, she had no knowledge of being mentioned in the cookbook and had not given Belle her consent to do so. When she called Gibson for clarification, Belle was evasive, even though the family knew nothing of Belle's supposed fundraising efforts. After the story came out, they faced suggestions they were in on the con, so people online were targeting the little boy's Facebook fundraising page and medical blogs, saying that, like, the worst things imaginable. And the family were devastated because they were relying on public donations along with the sale of their house to help fund their son's treatment, which was just experimental techniques. There was nothing that was like concrete to save his life. Unfortunately, Joshua passed away in 2017. In 2014, Belle was claiming that 300,000 Australian dollars had already been given to charity, and that she was working with 20 different charities, and she wrote that she was a philanthropist on her LinkedIn profile. But in 2016, 2015, the news that came out showed that this was completely Robert's family for Joshua's treatment. And I just think this is so evil. Moving on to all the other things that she claimed, just a little summary. In her book, she wrote July 20, I'm so sorry, I'm so bad with numbers. So this is like a quote from her book. July 2009, doctors told me you are dying and have 6 weeks, 4 months tops. I was empowering myself to save my own life through determination and love. And she also said, I hope that my readers live a well-nourished life. She claimed to have undergone an open heart surgery several times. She claimed to have died on the operating table or died momentarily on the operating table. She pretended to have a stroke, so that was actually real because her friend Chanel, also portrayed in the show, witnessed this, and she came to herself as people were about to call an ambulance, saying she didn't want them to call the ambulance. She never ever gave the names of the doctors that were treating her. She didn't have scars from the open heart surgery that she claimed to have, because you would have a really big scar down the middle of your chest. She promoted pseudoscience. She promoted, although it's not necessarily bad when you're doing it in a good way. However, coupled with everything else that she was, promoting, it's not good. She was promoting gluten-free, plant-based, dairy-free, sugar-free diets, the Gerson therapy, colonics, oxygen therapy, superfoods, clean eating, anti-vaccination, drinking unpasteurized raw milk, all of this stuff with the underlying and sometimes very obvious, because she would just say that, she fixed her life with it, with the underlying promise and argument that doing all of these things are just going to cure you from the cancer. Look at me, I cured myself from having cancer because I just ate my greens, kind of thing. Belle made claims in the Australian Woman's Weekly magazine, saying, when I started school, my mom went, my daughter is grown up now. All of a sudden I was walking to school on my own, making school lunches, cleaning the house every day. Shock horror. It was my responsibility to do the grocery shopping, do the washing, arrange medical appointments, and pick up my brother. I didn't have any toys. First of all, if this was true, I don't think it's that horrible. But this is what she was claiming. Her mom, Natalie, did an interview with the same publication and said, what a load of rubbish. Belle never cared for me. Her brother is not autistic, and she's barely done a minute's housework in her life. I've practically worked myself into an early grave to give that girl everything she wanted in life. Every time she moved house, I paid for it. Whenever she needed something for her son, I paid for it. Phone bills, beauty treatments, a new computer, you name it. This is how she repays me. In an interview he gave to the BBC in 2022, Belle's brother Nick said, I have no idea why she described me as autistic. I don't have autism at all. Even as a kid, she used to call me the R word. He also said that when very familiar with the alternative cures that were being peddled on the internet. He said to the BBC that I had been writing about the wellness phenomenon since 2012 because I'd written about the wellness industry and had interviewed a range of specialists. When I came across Belle's claims online, I was just immediately suspicious about her claim about this brain tumor. You don't live with brain cancer for 5 years. At the same time, two investigative journalists writing for the Age newspaper, Bob Donnelly and Nick Toscano, started looking into Belle's claims after being tipped off by no fewer than 6 people in her inner circle that she didn't have brain cancer. So these two journalists would go on to write the book, which was adapted into what we see in Netflix's Apple Cider Vinegar. In February of 2015, Belle's close friend Chanel, who's also portrayed in the show, said that she confronted her and told her to reveal the truth about her claims. You know, she started putting 2 and 2 together that, you know, it wasn't adding up, the way she was acting and the things that she was saying. She said that she reported her to the police, to a lawyer, to a journalist. She said that the money that Belle raised from charity was actually being used to rent her luxurious home, leasing a luxury car, leasing her office space for cosmetics, dental procedures, and going on holidays and purchasing designer clothes. She also said that Belle, who claimed to have cancer, was tanning on tanning beds and drinking and ordering shots at nightclubs. So it didn't add up. None of it added up. However, it initially took a while for anybody to actually show interest in the case. Nobody was wanting to look at it. However, eventually these two journalists, as we mentioned, decided to take the story on board, and they broke the story about her fraud. As depicted in the show, they didn't have access to her private medical records, so there was no way of confirming that she was lying about having cancer from that side. So they switched their focus to the charity fraud, which if you do, it's a really big deal, it's a big offense. In March of 2015, Belle received an email from the two reporters at The Age. They were asking questions about her business's alleged donations to various charities. Donations that the reporters already knew had never been received by said charities, despite Belle holding specific fundraising drives for them. These causes including, formerly mentioned the Schwartz family, whom Gibson pledged 100% of money from app downloads for 1 week to go towards their son's inoperable brain cancer treatment. After Donnelly and Toscano published their findings in 2015, a torrent of negative publicity was unleashed, deservedly so. Her house of cards were toppled, the castles came crumbling down, you could say anything right now. Her life was about to change completely. She initially started being defensive. She started deleting some of her posts on Facebook and Instagram. According to articles that I've read, she selectively was removing her blog posts because it showed that an admin was deleting them or requesting them to be deleted. But obviously the claims are very big, so eventually they all were taken down. She also couldn't, provide any evidence of her cancer diagnosis. She wouldn't say the name of the doctors, where she shows the publishers videotaping her and asking her questions about her cancer, and they did actually videotape her apparently. I don't know any other information about that, but they did do that prior to her book release. Penguin ended up paying a 30,000 Australian dollar fee penalty for failing to validate that the book was true. She admitted then that she might have been misdiagnosed or misled, but that she truly believed that she had terminal cancer and that she was dying. She also admitted to seriously overstating the charitable contributions she made, and out of the 300,000 that she was claiming to have donated, she donated only 7,000. Elle magazine and Cosmopolitan, who have featured Belle in the past, shared that they have received emails of Belle fabricating the illnesses she had, but that they had dismissed them. Elle magazine had previously featured her as the most inspiring woman you've met this year, and Cosmopolitan actually gave her the Fun Fearless Female Award. Apparently the Cosmopolitan one was actually selected by the editor of the magazine at the time. And because they were so uncritical of her, they didn't question anything. Media at the time were deemed complicit in her scams. Just how much she intentionally deceived or delusionally convinced herself of a fake illness remains unclear to this day. She never ended up apologizing or saying that she was regretful for any of her actions. The show depicts a scene where one of the journalists invites her to meet at a cafe. This actually happens. In the show, it shows that she never goes. However, she actually does show up. So Gibson meets with the very first reporter that I mentioned, Juliet, in a cafe to tell her side of the story. So the previous year she was doubling down, claiming that her cancer had metastasized to her blood, spleen, uterus, and liver, and it gained her some sympathy. So this was like at the time where her like influence was kind of waning off, but then people questioned the efficacy of her wellness solutions because her cancer was like coming back but worse. People were like, oh, okay, then how are your wellness solutions working? At the cafe, Gibson told the reporter that she had doubts about the doctor who had diagnosed the other 4 cancers that she now had. She said that she suspected her cancer diagnoses were incorrect, claiming that a medical team in Germany used magnetic therapy to diagnose her, but she obviously declined to name the doctor. She said, the journalist said, I was just completely stunned that she would backtrack from this extraordinary claim that she'd only made 7 months earlier. And after the interview, the manipulation of Belle reminded him that people have been driven to suicide by damaging press stories. I'm so sorry I said that wrong. Apparently, Belle called the journalist. I just read She was forced to take care of herself and her brother since she was 5. Didn't apologize, didn't regret her actions. As for her alleged heart attack that she had, when Richard, the journalist, started digging into her past, he discovered that she had wiped all traces of herself from the internet prior to 2014. However, he did find some pictures of her when she was 17 years old, and she was like a skater girl on a 2009 skateboarding forum, along with a post in which she claimed to be writing in real time from the hospital where she was recovering from open heart surgery, having died on the table and been resuscitated 3 times. There was a documentary made. You might want to watch it if you're interested in this story. It's on ITV and it's called Instagram's Worst Con Artist. There, the reporter Richard interviewed 2 former friends of Belle Gibson, who both described her as fun, outgoing, and confident until the mid-2009, at which point she started to post crazy stories on the forum about her heart surgery. And in the BBC documentary that was made about her, an anonymous school friend recalls, "You knew you couldn't trust her. She would come to class in an arm sling or claim to be a test tube baby. We all kind of went, okay, sure, Belle." After all of the controversies came out, she went on this Australian TV show called 60 Minutes. So this was 60 Minutes with Tara Brown, and you can watch it in full on YouTube. I think they have re-uploaded it now because the original one that they have uploaded didn't have access to comments. So in this interview, which is also depicted in Apple Cider Vinegar, she says a man named Mark Johns had told her she had brain cancer by putting a weird German-made device on her, and then he proceeded to prescribe her with medicine as well as telling her she had 4 months to live. So this is how she found out that she had cancer. When the journalist from the 60 Minutes team reached out and researched, looked everywhere to find this man, they couldn't find any records belonging to him. So she completely made him up. In 2011, when she got her brain scans done, the brain scans showed no signs of a tumor, and Tara, the interviewer, keeps asking these questions, and she's really harsh, very confronting, and she's just like, yeah, I believe that it was true. After she was famous, and I'm so sorry, she also mentioned in the same interview with Tara, when Tara is like, how old are you? And don't lie to me. She can't say her age. She's really weird, you have to watch it. She's like, I believe myself to be at this point in time X age. It's just really strange. And I found out that allegedly Belle was actually paid for this 60 Minutes Australia interview, and allegedly she was secretly paid 75,000 Australian dollars for this. Alleged. Okay, now you might be wondering, and obviously if you saw the show, you might be wondering what the hell happened to her. Did she get what she deserved? Basically, the judge accepted her story that she was acting out of delusion rather than criminal intent, so she wasn't put into prison or anything, but she actually like seek to make profit from this. However, Belle realized that she could make profit out of it, and she continued to lie. So police ended up going to her home a couple of times to seize a bunch of items. Apparently they were valued at 500,000 Australian dollars, because she just did not pay any of the penalties and still hasn't paid any of it. One of the comments on YouTube about this show I read said, more characters like the nurse selling placenta pills show up throughout the show, like the woman that sold Milla the black cream to apply on her tumors, the whole Hirsch thing, Dr. Phil and his 10K machine, the ayahuasca lady that Lucy sees who takes a credit card payment. I feel like the whole point of it was to show how Belle's grift is so common, and ultimately wonder if her punishment did fit her crime, considering none of these people will have to face any consequences. Mentioning the show, so the quote didn't make any sense to you if you didn't see the show, but go and watch it because it was amazing. I love the two actors that play in it. There is some like what's real, what's not. Majority of it I feel like is real. She did actually go to Jessica Ainscott's funeral. I don't know if it said that she did cry very loudly throughout, but I don't know if she did like throw a tantrum as it's portrayed in the show. And it's not known whether she was grieving for Jessica or herself. There were some creative liberties taken in the show, like her conversations with her husband Clive. Who knows what happens behind closed doors? That was all creative liberties. Also, we don't know how she treated her child, if she locked him up or not. That is also part of the showrunner's imagination. We also don't know if she misused drugs. That was also part of the creative spin. And the showrunner is called Samantha Strauss, and I feel like she did a great job. Like, this apple cider vinegar show was really good. Where she is now. So this is the last section, and it's very like, you don't know much about Belle nowadays because she's not online. She obviously has deleted all of her platforms when back in like 2015, when everything was coming out about her. So there was two sightings of her in the recent times. One is in 2019/2020. I can't verify the date for you guys, but there is a video of this on YouTube. Belle is spotted wearing a headscarf and speaking partially in Oromo, referring to herself as a Sabontu. So I guess she is pretending now to be like indigenous peoples. She was referring to Ethiopia as her home. She said that she has been adopted by the Ethiopian community in Melbourne after she started volunteering with them. However, the president of the Australian Oromo Community Association in Victoria said that she hasn't been registered as a volunteer at all. She years old. It might be like, when she was born, you can do the calculations, but the question in everyone's minds, at least my mind, is why she did all of this, why she lied so much. Was it for attention? Was it for love? Or was it for delusion? So I hope you guys enjoyed this very long video. Let me know what you think about this story. I tried to do my best to compile all of the facts and information that I could find online about this woman, Belle Gibson. If it comes down to what I personally think, I think she is horrible for what she has done. I think you should not listen to people who are not doctors online. I think similar stuff is happening today. No wonder she found fame and success shilling out her fake claims. Do not believe people that say that they have a miracle cure. There is never a miracle cure. Please don't drink unpasteurized milk. Just go to your doctor if there is something wrong with you, and I hope there is, and I hope all of you are healthy and happy and thriving. But this is so important because all of us are susceptible to falling victim to lying and scams online. There is such little fact checking nowadays. I mean, you see what's happening with X and Facebook. There is like fact checking is being taken away, and you have to do it, and it's very tiring to do it. I understand. So if you're not going to fact check, just don't believe people online that are claiming to have miracle cures. And I guess that's like one of the morals of the story. And I feel so sad for the Schwartz family. Like, what a terrible, terrible thing. I think one of the most horrific things that you could do. That innocent boy and his family didn't deserve any of that. Neither did all of her followers that had all that hope. And I think like just breaking someone's hope like that, like, is so cruel. I hope you managed to have a good evening after this. Just know that there is like hope left in this world. We just have to rise above all of this spewing of whatever is happening. We can talk about the trad life things happening right now. It's very reminding me very much of this. In some ways, they're also promoting drinking raw milk, but yeah, it's still going on. The thing is, it's still going on, so it's a very current story. I yapped far too long. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching. Leave me a comment down below. This is the second outro that I'm doing. And if you want to join my Patreon or my members only subscription,